Joe Boo, baby.
There you go. Calais Campbell, one immovable force right here. Joe Boo Sports Report.
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy, Joe Bear. Joe Boo, of course, is holding down the fort at the Red Brick House. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and hitting the like button. Hit the like button and subscribe. I know I say that so many times that you don't even really hear it. Subscribe to the channel here. Even if you're just a troll that likes to come in and tell me how stupid I am, at least do me a favor so I can stay here and make you guys laugh by hitting the like button, by subscribing, so that way we'll continue to be here and be the comedy show for you. Let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods on this finally freaking Friday. I hope you all are having a great day. As we sit here this morning, after the moves that the Cowboys have made, they are sitting here with about $33 million in cap room. Now, I want to go ahead and say that last year, our peak of cap space was about $8.5 million. That was the peak until we got CeeDee Lamb's contract done, and then it went up to about $21 million. So when you think about everything that the Cowboys did, which wasn't much, let's be clear here, it wasn't much. They brought in Eric Kendricks, they brought back Zeke Elliott. You know, we ended up signing, we made a trade for Jordan Phillips. We ended up getting Lawson and some other players and things. Basically, bottom tier guys, Kmart blue light specials, so to speak. But we did all that along with signing our rookie class with that $8 million. Yeah. We had that $8 million before we ended up getting CeeDee Lamb. So when you look at $33 million, now people will go out and say, because I'm getting to a point here, because Mike Fisher had a great stream this morning while I was doing my research and things. I was watching it, and he brought up, you know who.
It's Joe Boo, baby.
There you go. Calais Campbell, one immovable force right here. Joe Boo Sports Report.
He brought him up. But before I get to that, okay, because I know I'm a one-trick pony, and I've been that trick for Calais Campbell now for, 8 years. 8 years. Can we finally at least do one thing that I've asked Cowboys? Just one thing. It's a little late, though. It's a little late. But then again, I was talking to my bride last night. See, here's what's funny. I said to my wife, when things seem to be impossible, I find a way. I said, you'll remember I fell in love with you at JMU. I fell in love with you at JMU. And you were like, nah, that ain't happening. You're crazy, Mark. I said, okay. That was 1984. In 2003, we got reconnected by Match.com, mind you. Talked that night till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The next day, had lunch with her, and she was like, it is so great to see my friend, and patted me on my shoulder here. So good to see you. I said, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. It took a long time. Actually, that was January 29th. By Memorial Weekend, we bought this house and moved in. So sometimes I get what I want and I find a way when it seems impossible. You just have to have perseverance. See, you never fail. You don't fail. You just give up. So I still have that dream of Calais Campbell. But as I was going through doing my stuff for this morning, because I know people think that YouTube is you just sit in front of your cell phone and say whatever, and YouTube money just makes it rain. Yeah, good luck with that. I actually spend about an hour and a half every morning before I do this video. I was seeing that, the Cowboys are locking in on their 30 visits. And, getting all the guys that they want. They're doing all the pro days. The Cowboys seem to be really doing more homework than usual. They really seem to be. They've really got the coaching staff all involved. We had our coaching staff there at the combine, last year when we were basically saying, it's win or go home, Mike McCarthy. Him and Mike Zimmer were back in Dallas. While Jerry Jones and his tape measure are up there at the combine. But we got our coaching staff, Matt Eberflus, and, of course, Brian Schottenheimer and the other coaches going to these pro days along with the scouts. They're coming up with a plan. Well, one of the prospects is Shavon Revel, Jr., and I have to say, this sounds like the Dallas Cowboys' second pick. Here's the thing with the Cowboys. The Cowboys, when they draft, this is how they like to draft. When they draft a guy in the first round, they like to draft the best player available as the highest prospect available at a position. So if you're drafting a linebacker, you want to draft the best linebacker. If you're drafting a center, you want to get the best center. So typically, they don't go 3 or 4 deep in a position in the draft in the first round. And that usually works well for them. The problem is when you're drafting later in the draft and you have a problem of need, you get away from that. We knew that Tyron Smith was gone, so we looked and we said, we got to get a tackle of the future. You're drafting later in the draft, and so you have to kind of get more potential. See, what happens is if your car is broke down, if your car is destroyed, and you got to go get another car because you got to go to work tomorrow, that hoopty looks better than your feet. And so you'll make a decision that's rash because I need something right now, as opposed to being able to take your time and say, this is a really good one that's going to last me for a long time. And that's been the problem when we drafted Taco Charlton. That's been the problem when we drafted Mozzie. That's the problem when we've drafted Tyler Guyton. That's been the problem. That's not to say that Mozzie and Tyler Guyton aren't going to be really good, productive players, but we need a guy who's going to be an instant impact to start out. Okay. When we get to the second round, it's kind of like the Cowboys exhale. And they look and they say, we want a first-round talented guy who's in the second round because of some reason. They've got first-round ability, but they're here in the second round, so let's take a flyer on him. You can say that with Boss Man Fat, a.k.a. a rapper. You can say that with, Tristan Hill, who we literally had to have him sign a contract basically saying, I will practice. You can say that with Jalen Smith, who had a catastrophic knee injury. You can go down the line and say they typically draft guys that are damaged goods. Randy Gregory, who passed the Dutchie from the left. Passed the Dutchie from the left. And very rarely has this philosophy worked. The 3 best second-round picks the Cowboys have had since, 2010, Sean Lee, damaged goods, the knee, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Diggs. Everything else is just littered highway with guys that haven't made it. So, Shavon Revel, Jr., cornerback, East Carolina, coming in for a visit. A little bit about him. He's 6'2", 194 pounds. Prospect grade, a 6.34, will eventually be a starter. Will eventually. Production score, 76, which is 7th as far as cornerbacks. Athleticism score, 89, 5th as a cornerback. His total score ranks him 3rd at 84. Here's why he'll be the perfect guy for the Cowboys. Career notes. First, 3-year letterman who appeared in 24 games, making 15 starts, earned second-team All-American Athletic Conference honors in 23, recorded 70 career tackles, 37 solos, with 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and credited with 15 career pass breakups, picked off 3 career passes, blocked a pair of kicks in 23, recovered 1 fumble in 23, booked a career-high 8 tackles, 5 solos at Navy in 22. Since 22, logged 965 total snaps, 824 defense, 83 special teams, helped East Carolina University to 3 bowl appearances since 21, the Military Bowl that they won, Birmingham Bowl, NC State Military Bowl, earned a scholarship in the fall camp of 23. Here's where the problem is. Started first 3 games of the season, Norfolk State, Old Dominion, Appalachian State, before suffering a season ending injury, ACL. Which makes him the perfect second-round pick for the Dallas Cowboys. The doctor, we have, let me see, our doctor is the one. The Cowboys will be hosting DB Shavon Revel for a 30 visit next week. He will be ready for week 1, they say, but won't be fully recovered because we know how ACLs are. Won't be fully recovered till 26. So there's that. Now, in other news before we get to my buddy Calais Campbell, is we keep hearing everybody talking about, we had the guy. Oh, you're going to want to sit down for this one. As we speak, the Cleveland Browns are negotiating a contract trade for Dak Prescott, who's got a hamstring injury and may not be ready for week 1. Okay. As we pointed out yesterday, I showed a picture yesterday of the Cowboys getting together. We got Will Greer there. We got Dak Prescott there. We've got Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. We've got, Brent Spann-Ford. It had Ryan Fenoy. That Ryan Fenoy, he's got some Dez Bryant in him. And Ryan Fenoy there. Now, this is not having, edge rushers coming off the edge, getting at you and things like that, and players jumping at your knees or running the football. But I kind of let me turn that music. That's my quarterback. Look, hold on, wait a minute. Wait. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say that knee is 100%, but I'm seeing him moving around pretty good. Pretty good. Look at that. Knees bending. Balls coming off nice and clean. Yeah. Look. So this is still March. We still got April, May, June, July. We got 4 months before we get to training camp. 4 months. And if he's moving that well, when we're talking about drafting cornerbacks with ACLs, they say might be ready. I'm looking at that and saying, Say what you will. That guy puts in the work. He puts in the work. All right, so moving.
We always say some other time.
Hope I don't get copywritten. Moving right along here. I do shout out to Mike Fisher. Mike Fisher, who has been doing this for a long time. And Mike Fisher knows his shit. And I appreciate Mike Fisher because he still credits me and Law Nation for really getting him started on YouTube. You know, when he being Sports Illustrated and everything else, you know, all of that stuff, you were great on there. This is a different platform, and there's always a learning curve, and I'm glad that we were able to help get him started in his YouTube career. This morning, I bring this in here because this is the argument that I've been trying to make myself. I am a guy who's in his basement. I'm in my basement. So, you know, we can't necessarily go by what I say because I'm just the idiot. I'm the guy you come in here to laugh at because I drank too much and fell off my seat. I get that. But take it from him. Let's go through as he makes the argument. But I will say one thing about his numbers, because we have $33 million sitting right now. $33 million. His take on this is 2 guys from Miami would make a difference on the Cowboys. One would be getting Calais Campbell, which is easily doable. The second that people are starting to say is trading, I've said it to myself, trading for Tyreek Hill. Well, you're going to have to give up draft capital for him. I don't know how high it has to be, but you will. And he has a $30 million contract. And so to take on his contract as it currently is, you're basically taking up the majority of the money that you have right now. But we do have 33. And if the Cowboys would get off their fat ass and get Micah Parsons' deal done, well, then things look a little bit different because you'll get about another $12 million. And I'm not suggesting that we want to spend $30 million on Tyreek Hill, but you need a major move to make this team better. Let's listen to him. And there are ways we can get more money, but let's listen to them.
Who are of late members of the Miami Dolphins. Calais Campbell in September is going to turn 39. Oh, shit. I think it might have been 2 years ago with the Ravens. He was talking about retiring, but I think he had 99 sacks or something like that. Maybe
he's got 110.
He had 99 sacks. So he very openly said, you know, I want to play one more year. I want to get 100 sacks. And then, even though he is mostly an interior defensive lineman, he's like 6'8", 330 or whatever, 6'8", 6'9". So he can do a lot of things. In September, he turns 39. So that's not perfect. And we've seen the Cowboys over the course of certainly the last decade and a half try to go salvage. They do it a lot with defensive linemen, but they especially do it with interior defense, with guys that are supposed to stop the run. They come here and they're 32 and it just doesn't work. And maybe that's what would happen with Calais Campbell, except he's been making it work for a long time.
He has. His numbers
he's more
are
than
insane.
just a notable name. You know, if you're a football guy, you're familiar with him because he's been around so long. The Pro Football Focus grades on him last year, very good.
Number one is stopping the run.
His numbers. He had 5 sacks last year.
5 batted passes.
Now, again, this is a good
12 tackles for loss.
Playing a lot on the inside.
12 quarterback hits.
I'm sure over the course of his career, he's played in a 3-4 and played some end too. And last year he gets 12 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. The kind of production out of a defensive tackle out of a non-3 technique defensive tackle. Because if he came here, again, he would play both. But you could line him up almost anywhere, but ask him to make sure he's a run stopper, and he's still going to somehow get 5 sacks. I'm so in. And cap-wise, it wouldn't create a crisis. He, last year, all right, first of all, there's a projection, I don't know if it's Spot Track or somebody, projection $7 million in a 1-year deal. Well,
He
first
got
of all,
$2
you could
million
do
last
that,
year.
as we just outlined. Joey B points out also Walter Payton Man of the Year guy, another veteran who would be great in this locker room. And under the supervision of Brian Schottenheimer in large part, they've done some of that, haven't they? Character guys. Dan Grigsby's here, Uncle Fish Premium. These sorts of deals rarely work out for the Cowboys. Yeah, and I you know what? I almost pulled up the list of the defensive linemen who they brought in here in the last decade or so that you're going, man, he made 3 Pro Bowls with the Chiefs as a nose tackle, and he comes here and he's going, they're turning him sideways every day in practice. $7 million is one projection. Kent Freeman, can I give him multiple years? I wouldn't. He turns 39 in September. Here's what I'd be looking at. Last year, he signed with Miami. And again, he's at a ring chasing point, which we'll get to in a minute. His deal last year was 1 year, $2 million. So I don't know why. I don't know why I have to do $7 million. He just signed a deal a year ago for $2 million. Lorenzo, the old used up players haven't done anything for this team. Time for a different approach. Lorenzo, how about all the approaches? Use all the avenues. The opposite approach, of course, is let's give Jonathan Mingo a chance. All right, fine. But you can do both. I got 90 roster spots. Why can't I do both? JT, Alden Smith. We could list them. There's a lot of them. So I'm not real excited to do $7 million when the guy just got paid $2 million. That one makes all the sense in the world to me. Mm-hmm. The downside to the possible connection, and let's be frank here, we're not kicking the Cowboys in the balls on this. If I'm turning 39 in September, and I've been doing this all this time, and I just signed a $2 million deal last year, I'm ring chasing. Why am I coming here? No offense. We talked yesterday a little bit about the odds makers putting the Cowboys win-loss total at 8.5. If you're ring chasing in the NFC, this is not the first place you think of. That's all, right? This is not the first place you think of. In fact, in the NFC East alone, it's not even the second place you think of. If pretend you're 39, you're going to be 39. Mm-hmm. You got one more year left.
You got one shot,
one more year,
one opportunity.
You're going to beat up your body one more time. You're not going to do it for money. Jason B, does he have offers? Doesn't seem like it, does it?
Miami has a standing offer.
You're not going to do this for money anymore.
People that are interested.
One shot.
And he didn't decide till June last year.
And you look at the NFC, and don't you start by going, does Philadelphia need me? I mean, isn't that where you start? We hate the Eagles. And then don't you go, but if Philadelphia doesn't think they need me, what if I go beat Philadelphia and join Washington? People in Washington are saying, well, it's too bad we lost Dante Fowler. We got to replace him. I don't know why they didn't just keep Dante Fowler, but that's a vacancy now in their D-line room. Calais Campbell in Washington. And then you look at Detroit, ring chasing. And whoever else you want to throw into the conversation. Those are the first three in the NFC that pop into my head, and we don't even have to get into the AFC, where he's already got a track record with the Ravens, where Buffalo could use a body like that, where Kansas City always finds a way, and on and on and on. So if I'm ring chasing, Dallas isn't at the top of my list. Mike Bullard, if you're chasing a ring, you don't come to Dallas. You're chasing the playoffs in Dallas. It's true. I will be disappointed if the Cowboys don't at some time touch base with Calais Campbell, going to be 39 in September and coming off a 1-year, $2 million deal in Miami. Now, let's go to Miami twice. Diddly diddly dink? Yes.
Yes, diddly diddly dink. Now, the Tyreek Hill part.
Everybody's writing about Tyreek Hill. And this started at the end of the Dolphins season.
When he said, I'm out.
The final game of the year, during the game, he quit. He just did. Even his coach said he did. Then he went in the locker room and told reporters, hey, this has been a great ride here. This is in the locker room after the last game. He said, but I'm done here. Goodbye. Goodbye, Miami. I'm done. At which point, Michael Parsons gets on Twitter and says, well, come here then, as if it worked that way. Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah, wouldn't it be great?
That way?
But he's still owned by the Dolphins.
Tyreek has since retracted his statement and kind of apologized and said it was the heat of the moment. I like it here. I don't want to go anywhere. That doesn't mean that Miami might want to not get out from under him.
They're rebuilding.
Tyreek Hill, and I'm going to tell you right now, based on all the real numbers, I would be for a Calais Campbell. I would not be for a Tyreek Hill, and I'm going to tell you why. And I would push the idea of Calais Campbell. I'm not going to pretend to push the idea of Tyreek Hill, even though we got 1,000 websites that are making that connection. Tyreek Hill last year, this upcoming year, $28 million. He's 31. We had this debate the other day about being in decline. He is in decline. The numbers say he's in decline.
Mm-hmm. So do you want to spend $30 million?
He's 31. And he gets by. Now, he's a tough little fella, too, but he gets by on speed. Thomas C., I don't want anybody who quits on their team. That's a problem. He's an emotional, behavioral baggage guy. And I don't think we need to get into all of it. It happens all the time with him. And then somehow he, just like he does on the field, somehow he kind of wriggles out of it. I don't know that he's ever been jailed, but he sure has
gotten in trouble.
The cops have him on speed dial.
I don't want to take everything from Mike Fisher, but here's the thing: we go to over the cap. As we sit here today, we've got $33 million. His number for Tyreek Hill is about $30 million right now. You don't want to take all of your money. You're going to need some of that in case people get hurt. You got to bring in other players. You're going to take about $5 or $6 million to pay your rookie class and stuff. And ideally, you would love to be able to get some of these contracts extended, like Deron Bland or Tyler Smith, before they cost you more next year. With that being said, if you did want to still do some moves, you can. Terrence Steele, hypothetically, if you make him a post June 1st cut, I'm sorry, no, that changed because he got his guaranteed money. Not post June 1st, I'm sorry, restructure. If you restructure Terrence Steele, if you believe that he's still a good player for you, you can grab $9 million right there. If you think he's going to be here for a couple of years. Diggs, you can still restructure him and get 5.8 from him. If you end up letting go some guys that are on the roster, like Damone Clark, if you end up cutting Damone Clark, you can end up saving $3.4 million. So the 33 is the number that's current, but it's not necessarily the number that it's going to be. There is some other room where you could get money. The bigger question, of course, is do you want to give up draft capital and a lot of money for a short-term thing? I don't think the Cowboys do. I think that they're looking and saying there's strength in numbers and guys who at least have a pedigree, that have been at least thought to be really good, and we're going to be able to coach them up, that they're young enough that we can teach them and we'll be able to have them for longer than just a short-term fix, which may be the reason why they look at Calais Campbell and say, yeah, we're not interested. He's too old. We're trying to have a youth movement here. And also keep in mind, the Cowboys won't sign any free agents of note until after April 28th, where it does not hurt the comp picks. They love their draft picks. They love their draft picks. So with that being said, it's going to be a busy day today. We got a little long-winded. I was going to talk about the 5-step plan that ESPN had, but you've heard too much from me today, and I got to get back down to the red brick house because I'm coming home to you, baby. I'm coming home to you. Daddy's coming home. And I'll see you soon. Peace out.